The craziest Super Bowl stories are not the ones that happen on Sunday. They're the ones that have been brewing for years. Every one of these players has had a wildly different journey to get where they are now. Some of these guys were national champions, Heisman winners. Others didn't even play Power 5 football, didn't even play Division 1 football. They went undrafted, had to work their way to the top, and there's even a guy who had no football experience in his life before joining the NFL. This diversity is what makes the game so great, and today I'm going to break down the college careers of all starters on the Chiefs and Eagles. Yes, that is 42 players all in this one video. Let's get after it. This type of content takes a while to compile, so it would mean a lot if you guys could support the video. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know which player was your favorite to watch in college. Jordan Davis. Now, during the years 2018 to 2021, Georgia's defensive line was impossible to run against, and this guy was a big reason. He made the All-SEC team twice during his career and really blossomed in his senior season, being named a unanimous All-American and winning the 2021 Natty with the Dogs. And don't even get me started on his 4.78-second 40-yard dash time in the 2022 Combine. Davis is built like a fridge, above 340 pounds, but runs like a sport car. He is a freak of nature, and by the way, that time is faster than Patrick Mahomes. Dogs again. If you can't handle it, click off the video. It's Jalen Carter. This guy was faster than most linemen, stronger than most linebackers, and somehow still agile enough to rush the passer like a D end. In 2021, he was All-SEC with 31 tackles and 3 sacks. The next year, he was a unanimous All-American and was a part of that national championship beatdown of TCU. He was the 9th overall pick in 2023. Milton Williams. I'm glad we have a non-Power 5 guy. That national championship stuff was getting vanilla. Milton had a nice little run at Louisiana Tech where he left quarterbacks questioning their life choices. However, he didn't become a starter till his redshirt sophomore year. He was a very late bloomer, but showed out in 19 and 20, forgoing his senior season of eligibility and getting a round 3 selection in the 21 draft. Nowadays with NIL, I'll bet you that Williams would have gotten a big-time 6-figure plus offer to play somewhere else in the Power 5 and taken it. Back a couple years ago, even if you didn't have the highest stock, you were running to the NFL to make that bread. Nolan Smith Jr., Georgia again. Wow, who would have thought? General management of the Eagles, you're not slick. I know where you're going to draft from every single year. Now, Smith was on the same 2 national championship teams that I spoke about a second ago, but he didn't have the same buzz as the other guys. He was never named All-SEC and ended his college career with injury in 2022, but his tape was good enough to get him a first-round selection in 2023. Oren Burks from Vandy. Yeah, you know, the school that's known for winning and creating NFL talent for the last decade. No, I'm kidding, but Burks was a real one. This guy was everywhere for the Commodores, racking up 228 career tackles while playing both safety and linebacker. Burks had a football IQ higher than most quarterbacks, and his versatility got him drafted in the 3rd round in 2018. Vandy boys, baby. Wisconsin linebackers, and as you would expect, yes, they eat a lot of cheese, and Zach Bond was no exception. He started off as a high school quarterback before transforming into an elite linebacker at Wisconsin, where he straight up terrorized Big Ten offenses. In 2019, he put up 19.5 tackles for loss and 12.5 sacks. That is crazy. That's not a linebacker, that's a D end in disguise. He was first team All Big Ten, a 2nd round pick. Just another day for a cheese eater. Josh Sweat had 5-star hype coming out of high school and was supposed to be the next great FSU pass rusher, but a nasty ACL injury in high school almost derailed that, but it didn't. He ended up with 29 tackles for loss and 14.5 sacks in 3 seasons at Florida State, showing flashes of dominance despite playing through injuries. We've got a MAC guy. Quinyon Mitchell was one of my favorite stories from last year's draft. In 2022, he had 5 interceptions and 20 passes defended. He had 1 game against Northern Illinois where he had 2 pick sixes and 4 total interceptions. EA Sports wouldn't even let you do that in Road to Glory mode. This guy was a straight-up ball hawk. He still is. Mitchell impressed at the NFL Combine and moved into first-round status in the 24 draft. Darius Slay played JUCO ball before making his way to Mississippi State, so he was already going against the odds. In his 2 years with the Bulldogs, he had 6 picks, returned 1 for a touchdown, and ran a cool 4.36 at the combine like it was nothing. There's a reason why they call him Big Play Slay. Cooper DeJean. I'm not going to say it. You already know what I'm thinking about, but I will not say it. There's an elephant in the room. Anyways, he was a turnover machine for the Hawkeyes in 2022, grabbing 5 interceptions, 2 of which he took to the house. Imagine DeJean on a team with a functional offense, but no, at the time we had to watch 10-7 Big Ten West games instead. Regardless, he was picked in early round 2 of last draft, and he's been extremely productive for the Eagles. CJ played for Florida, but he brought LSU-level trash talk to every game. He lived for getting into receivers' heads, and he did that more often than not. He had 9 interceptions in 3 years with the Gators and capped off his career by snagging 2 picks in the Peach Bowl against Michigan. Every team needs an undrafted underdog, and Reed Blankenship is that guy. At Middle Tennessee, he set school records and was basically the entire defense by himself. If he played in the SEC, I assure you he probably would have been a second-round pick. Instead, he went undrafted, and in his first game at safety with the Eagles in 2022, he picked off Aaron Rodgers. Very cool story. George Karlaftis, Purdue. He spent 3 seasons with the Boilermakers with limited playing time due to COVID, but he made an immediate impact as a freshman, earning freshman All-American honors in 2019. He recorded 7.5 sacks and 17 tackles during that first season. He was also strong in 2021, solidifying his first-round NFL draft stock. And just think, this Purdue team was far better back then compared to their 1-11 team of 2024. Mike Danham, Michigan. Wait, psych, he started his career at Central Michigan, where he was a first-team All-Mac selection after tallying 9.5 sacks in 18. The next year, he transferred to the Big Dogs, Michigan. He showcased his versatility against the Big Ten competition, and it got him a 5th-round selection in 2020. Chris Jones was a beast on some very good Bulldog teams that did have Dak Prescott under center. Jones was a 5-star recruit who played 3 seasons before declaring for the draft, and he finished his college career with 8.5 sacks, 18 tackles for loss, and second-team All-SEC in 2015. Tershawn Wharton, Missouri SNT. No, not the University of Missouri. This is an underdog story we all love. Wharton played at D2 Missouri Science and Technology, and don't let those fancy words fool you. He was scary on the field. He was a 4-year starter and had 35.5 career sacks, which is ridiculous. And despite going undrafted, he impressed scouts with his high motor and pass rushing skills, earning a spot with the Chiefs in 2020. Nick Bolton, Mizzou Tigers. He was a 2-time first-team All-SEC selection, one of the nation's top linebackers in 2019 and 2020. His leadership and play recognition made him an easy second-round choice for the Chiefs in the 2021 draft. Drew Tranquill. He was originally committed to a different school in Indiana, which was Purdue, but he made the right choice with the Irish, and what many don't know is that he started his career as a safety before transitioning to linebacker. In his sophomore season of 2015, he tore his ACL after celebrating a pass breakup. That is brutal. Luckily, he rebounded to become a team captain and the leader of the Irish defense. Let's go. Tamari Connor, Virginia Tech. When is VT going to be good at football again? That's a completely different subject. But anyways, back to Connor. He used the COVID year to get a 5th season of eligibility, and he slowly climbed his way up the ladder until he was named ACC All-Mention in his final 2 years with the Hokies. No crazy story here, but the Chiefs got a good one in the 4th round of the 2023 draft. Trent McDuffie, Washington. He was already a leader on the Huskies defense as only a freshman, starting in 11 games. Over 3 seasons in Seattle, he was one of the most technically sound corners in college football. He was a first-team All-Pac-12 selection in 2021, allowing just 16 receptions, and the Chiefs knew he was the one, so they traded up in the 22 draft to get him. We move over to the in-state rival Washington State with Jalen Watson. This is underdog story number 2 for the Chiefs, and this is crazier than Wharton's. Jalen Watson started his college career in JUCO in the state of California during 2017. Once he finished those 2 years, he committed to play at USC, only that's where he ran into an issue. He didn't academically qualify for the school, so he returned all the way home to the state of Georgia, worked at the local Wendy's while completing required classes, then transferred to Washington State in 2020. This story shows his dedication to the game, and there was no surprise when he turned into an All-Pac-12 player with the Cougs. He was drafted in the 7th round by the Chiefs and had to prove himself to get where he's at today. Brian Cook, Cincy, the second most famous guy to go to that school on this team. Now, he started his career at Howard University before transferring back to his hometown school, and he played a key role in Cincy's wild CFP run in 2021. He got an interception in the playoff game versus Bama. That's pretty awesome, and got picked in the second round by the Chiefs in the next year. Justin Reed, Stanford Cardinal. His final season in Palo Alto in 2017 was nutty, and see, I have to start pulling new words out of the bag for that one, but Reed had 5 interceptions. Unfortunately, he left a curse on the Cardinal because once he was drafted to the Chiefs in 2018, Stanford football was never the same. He's always been praised for his intelligence and leadership, which has helped him reach the heights he's at today. Jake Elliott was out here hitting 50-yarders in his freshman year like it was nothing. In his college career combined, he went 81 of 104 on field goals, including a 56-yard bomb. The Bengals actually drafted him, then Philly stole him, and now he's one of the most clutch kickers in the league. Moral of the story, always draft Memphis kickers. There's something about them. Braden Mann didn't become the starting punter until his junior season, but from there, he took off. He had a 51-yard average in 2018, breaking NCAA records, earning first-team All-SEC honors, and winning the Ray Guy Award. Isaiah Rodgers. First off, shout out to UMass for joining the MAC next season. That's a great accomplishment. Anyways, this school doesn't produce NFL talent often, but when they do, it's electric. Rodgers was a one-man highlight reel, taking 4 kick returns to the house in college while averaging 28.3 yards per return. He also had 188 tackles and 11 picks as a cornerback too, just because he could. He went from round 6 in the 2020 draft to the biggest stage today. Do I know anything about long snappers? No, and I'm sure you don't either, but do I respect them? Absolutely. Rick Lovato was the first long snapper to ever come out of Old Dominion and make the NFL. That's like being the first astronaut from your high school. He's been in the league for almost a decade now, spending time with the Bears, Packers, Redskins, and now Eagles. Let me know if you knew about all 4 of these. First, it's Harrison Butker, Georgia Tech. He was a 4-year kicker with the Yellow Jackets from 13 to 16, but you may not know he started his career there only planning to play soccer, which would have been horrible because he finished as the school's all-time leading scorer for kickers. Fun fact, Butker was on the last Tech team to get more than 10 wins in 2014. They finished 8th in the polls that year. Another fun fact, Butker got a degree in industrial engineering. Matt Ariza, San Diego State. Now, you know how people say, oh, I used to have a nickname back in college. Everyone called me this. Ariza's nickname was the punt god because he had one of the strongest legs in college football and set an NCAA record for punting average at 51.2 yards per punt in 2021 and won the Ray Guy Award while being named a unanimous All-American. Enough said. I don't even have to say anything else. That's done. The long snapper, James Winchester, and it doesn't get more long snapper than this, guys. He was a walk-on at Oklahoma, but then earned a scholarship after playing in every game for 3 seasons. He then signed as an undrafted free agent with the Eagles in 2013 as a practice squad guy. Then KC gave him a chance in 2015, and the rest is history. Winchester is tied for the Chiefs' franchise lead in all-time postseason appearances. That is legendary. The return specialist, Nico Remigio, and I have beef with Nico because he played at Cal for 3 seasons, and you all know that was my favorite team growing up. He put up some solid all-purpose numbers as a wide receiver, but then he transferred to Fresno State. Are you kidding me? He did become the top return specialist in the Mountain West and went undrafted. He was cut from the Chiefs before being re-signed in 2024, and his story is remarkable, but why did he have to leave Cal? I was hurt. What a journey. Lane Johnson was a standout at OU in the caveman days. Seriously, guys who played before the year 2010 just feel old now. He started out as a tight end before making the move to tackle at a JUCO in Texas. Then he found his way to Norman in 2009, playing as a practice squad quarterback, switching to tight end in 2010, then to linebacker, and finally to lineman in 2011. He looked so natural at that position. Coaches were kicking themselves for not having him there before. He's been an anchor on the Eagles line since 2013 and a 6-time Pro Bowler. Mekhi Becton was that guy who made you wonder how someone could be so big and move so quickly. He was 6'7" and weighing over 350 pounds at Louisville. Through only 4 games in 2017, he was the highest rated freshman lineman in the nation, and this momentum never stopped as he was able to stay on the field and start in almost every game with the Cardinals for 3 years, and in the 2020 draft, he was selected 11th overall by the Jets. Cam Jurgens, he never played on the line in high school, school. He was a tight end and fullback, but once he got injured during his freshman season of 2018, he started to practice on the interior O-line, and that's where his career took off. The man is quick off the ball and nimble for a guy of his size, which is a nightmare for defensive linemen. During his 3 full seasons on some very disappointing Husker teams, Scott Frost sold that. Jurgen's ability to get to the second level and seal defenders made him one of the top interior linemen in the 22 draft. Landon Dickerson, just a guy who loves pancakes, not the breakfast kind, the blocking kind. Now, his college career wasn't perfect. He dealt with injuries, but he stayed the course and was a team captain, an absolute wrecking ball on the line. Now, cool story, he wasn't supposed to play in the 2020 Natty due to ligament damage in his knee, but Saban put him in on the final kneel-down play as a sign of respect. That's the kind of guy Dickerson is. Jordan Mailata's backstory is wild as it gets. This dude went from being a rugby player in Australia with 0 football experience to playing in the NFL. He was training with the kangaroos and massive spiders. Yes, that's a thing that can happen when you're 6'8" and 350 pounds. From 2014 to 2017, he was playing in the top Australian circuit, but when 2018 came around and there was some tension with his contract, he decided to give American football a try after NFL scouts were looking at his tape. He had to work his way up from a practice squad guy to the place he's at now, and it's pretty remarkable. Dallas Goedert wasn't a household name when he was playing at FCS South Dakota State, but he should have been. He was a guy who would leap over defenders or plow through them, whatever it took. Obviously, he didn't get the same attention as some big-name Power 5 guys, but his numbers and tape were insane. He was a second-round pick that blossomed into a high-ceiling guy. Devontae Smith, we all know this guy's story. He won the 2020 Heisman in Tuscaloosa, becoming the first wide receiver to do so in 30 years, with over 1,800 yards and 23 touchdowns in his senior year alone. And when he left the Tide, he had 2 rings on his fingers, but due to his stature and being light, there were doubters about his transition to the NFL. What do they have to say now? Jahan Dotson was unreal at Penn State. He could not be covered. The separations on his routes were crazy. Almost 3,000 yards receiving and 25 touchdowns in 4 years. He was an easy first-round selection by no, not the Eagles, the Commanders, but I'm sure you already know that. A.J. Brown is a Mississippi legend. He was born in Starkville, which is the home of Mississippi State, but went to the dark side and played at Ole Miss. By the time he finished his college career in 3 seasons, he was one of the top receivers in the SEC, and oh, by the way, he was also drafted and signed with the San Diego Padres in the 19th round of the MLB draft in 2016. His first year in Happy Valley, he was already stiff-arming defenders into another dimension. He ran for over 1,900 yards his sophomore season and made it look easy. Saquon was a human highlight reel in college while also leading PSU to back-to-back New Year's Six Bowls. Of course, he went second overall in the 2018 NFL draft. He was the definition of a can't-miss prospect. This one is heavily debated because it seems like Alabama fans want to claim Jalen Hurts since he played 3 years there, but I'm not the judge on that. Anyways, after Jalen brought Bama to back-to-back natties, he infamously got benched for a freshman named Tua. I made an entire mini documentary about it. Boom, check it out after this one. When Hurts arrived in Norman, he effortlessly fit into Lincoln Riley's system, became the Heisman runner-up, and led his team to the playoffs as a big middle finger towards the Tide. All right, I know you guys were waiting for me to talk about the offense the entire video, even though you know where these guys went to school. Like, what is wrong with you? Anyways, we're going to start on the line because you can't eat without those big dogs in the trenches. Jawan Taylor was a 3-year starter at Florida where he excelled in both run blocking and pass protection. He was so good, he didn't even need a senior season to get drafted in round 2 by the Chiefs in 2019. His strength and athleticism helped him become a high NFL draft pick. Joe Tooney, NC State, and during his first 2 seasons in Raleigh, he played pretty much every position on the line. With that experience, he blossomed into an All-American during the 2014 season, and off the field, this guy purposely missed answers on his Wonderlic test to not seem too smart. He was drafted to the Patriots in 2016, and on Sunday, this guy is going for a 5th Super Bowl ring. And by the way, Tom Brady really likes this guy, almost a little too much. It might be getting kind of weird. I don't know what they do behind the scenes. All right, let's get serious. Trey Smith, it seemed like he had it all. He was a 5-star recruit who started all 12 games as a freshman for his home state school of Tennessee. But his life took a great turn in 2018 when he had to miss the entire season with a blood clot issue. But 2019 was a great comeback story where Smith became dominant with the Vols. He was a first-team All-SEC selection and a round 6 steal in the 2020 NFL Draft. Mike Caliendo from Western Michigan, and he was a 6-year college player, before it was cool and trendy in the NIL era. Caliendo used his redshirt season plus a medical year to soak it all in with the Broncos, and during that time, he wasn't just anchoring his team, but he got a master's degree in biological sciences. Let's go. He went undrafted to the Chiefs in 22 and worked his way up to the top. A year ago, he didn't even think he would have a roster spot on this team. Creed Humphrey, Oklahoma. This guy knows a thing or two about protecting good quarterbacks. You want some advice on that? I would call his number. He was a two-time Big 12 Offensive Lineman of the Year, and he was elite in Norman, starting for 3 seasons, 2 of which he was balling with his now teammate Hollywood Brown. Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, and Spencer Rattler can thank this man for staying protected. The Chiefs made a perfect choice of taking Humphrey in the 2nd round. Travis Kelce. Oh no, this guy isn't popular at all. No one knows who he is. I don't know where he went to college. This guy didn't go to college. He was actually raised by the wolves and hunted for his own food naked. And one day he stumbled upon Andy Reid in nature. From there, Reid gave him some clothes and a football and said, "I want you to help me win multiple Super Bowls." I wish that was the real story, but instead Kelce played at Cincinnati as a quarterback turned tight end starting in 2008, and he had a breakout senior season with 722 yards and 8 touchdowns. The Chiefs took him in round 3 in the 2013 draft and never looked back, despite some off-field concerns. Hollywood Brown, Boomer Sooner. He received 0 D1 offers out of high school, so he immediately went to JUCO, College of the Canyons in California. This school did not offer scholarships, so Brown had to work at Six Flags just to pay rent. Anyways, Brown was so good in JUCO, he earned a Power 5 spot on the Oklahoma Sooners in 2017, and he was one of the most explosive playmakers in the country, recording over 2,000 yards and 17 tutties in 2 seasons. He was getting the rock thrown to him by Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray, from Six Flags to 1st-round pick by the Ravens in 2019. DeAndre Hopkins, man, this guy feels super old to me. He helped build the foundation of Clemson's dynasty in the early 2010s and finished his college career with over 3,000 receiving yards and 27 touchdowns. As a junior, he set the school's single-season receiving yards record before declaring for the NFL draft. Xavier Worthy, Texas Hook'em. He was one of the fastest wide receivers in college football at Texas. And yeah, I know he's fast. He broke the NFL Combine record. What am I even saying? But he broke freshman school records in 2021, 981 yards, 12 touchdowns. And in his junior year, he continued over 1,000 yards receiving while leading his team to the CFP. But because he was small, he was too frail. Teams slept on him in the draft, and look what he's doing now. Who has the last laugh? Isaiah Pacheco, Rutgers. He ran for over 2,000 yards in 4 seasons, despite being behind a struggling offensive line. This dude was still him. He was a great late-round steal. Patrick Mahomes. This guy definitely doesn't donate a lot of money to his alma mater. He was a gunslinger at Texas Tech. He threw for over 11,000 yards and 93 touchdowns in just 3 seasons, and we all remember that infamous game in 2016 where he threw for 734 yards against Oklahoma. Wow, the Big 12 back then was ridiculous. I mean, the Red Raider teams were never good. They could score you 50, then they would give up 51. That was a wild era. I gotta make a video about that. I can't even believe. Thanks for reaching the end of the video. I've been Saturday Shenanigans, your home for unfiltered football content, and I'll see you guys soon.